Okay, one thing I forgot was to show the installation of timing chains. So I got them all back. You pre-mark them with the marks. This is upside down because it's on the engine stand, but you pre-mark everything, and you've got to mark down underneath the oil pump here on the timing chain where the crankshaft comes in. But basically, those are lined up, rotated around a couple times, make sure everything comes back and lines up. Now, on the inside of the oil pump, I took all these cover screws off, and you pack the inside of this cavity. There's a big cavity inside here. Pack it with petroleum, just Vaseline, because it breaks down into oil. You know, it'll break down with the oil. And then, while it's upside down, because I'm going to put the oil pan on here, which is going to cover this, I went down in this hole and this hole and also added oil. So it's got oil in there and the petroleum, so you don't have a dry start. It'll be pumping from the time you first on initial startup. It protects the engine, so you're not having a dry cavity and no oil pumping through. Because this doesn't have a distributor, so you can't go down through the distributor gear with a long screwdriver and turn it manually like with a drill, like you can on old school vehicles. So that's the way that you pack these oil pumps: petroleum jelly and oil. I'll come back because I'm getting ready to set the oil pan on here, and you'll see how it seals up both of those holes. That when you flip it over, it'll, worst case scenario, you'll drain the oil down into the oil pan, but you'll have some in there in the pickup tube, and you'll still have the petroleum Vaseline inside the oil pump. Okay, I've got front timing cover on now, and the thing you want to do, your front seal right here, you want to replace this. Give it a nice coating of oil on the outside. Get it started in the bore, and then you take a socket that same size, tap it down in there evenly so that it's nice and seated even. Then you just basically go through and bolting down your timing cover, standard procedure. It's better to put this front one on first rather than the oil pan because they bolt together. If you set the oil pan down, it's a real tight clearance to get this in here, and you'll fight it and fight it and fight it. So do this one first. Then after you've got those snug down, then you can lay the oil pan down. And these go in sequence. You'll see it in the manual. These are all 16 millimeter, or 16 foot-pounds, I'm sorry, 12 millimeter bolts, 16 foot-pounds in this torque sequence. Can't forget that there's one hidden down inside there by the oil pickup tube. And two back here that are much smaller that go into the rear main that are a lighter foot-pound. You don't want to torque these down to the same 16 foot-pounds or you'll strip them. These are only about 6.5, 7 foot-pounds. But I haven't put the rear main on yet. I'm going to save that for when I'm last off of the hoist. So I'm just leaving those floating for now. I'm going to put this lower oil pan on now. This has two oil pans. It has the main one and then the lower. Basically, I'm going to put some RTV on the back here, lay this down so that all the holes are lined up and it's nice and tacked, because as you can see, this gasket, the holes don't want to line up. You kind of have to stretch it and spread it. So I'm going to put RTV down on there so that when I stretch it out and spread it, it stays down. And then on the mating surface of the pan, that pan right there that goes on top of it, I'll also put some RTV, and these get torqued down in sequence to the certain foot-pounds that are listed in the manual. So there you go.